4 years and counting. With over 2.8 million website users. IFNRI is a trusted source of food, nutrition, health in the Philippines. Home to 6 components: ISS, iServe, iLearn, iBusiness, iPromote, and iAdmin. The harmonized information and communication technology hub of the Department of Science and Technology, Food and Nutrition Research Institute is now expanding to serve you better. IFNRI Reimagined. ITrain is a new addition to the group. Users can now enroll in face-to-face online or offline trainings and watch, learn, and enjoy nutrition videos anytime, anywhere, while earning continuing professional development credits with ITrain. We also upgraded the original components. Nutrition counseling is now online. We also have new nutrition tools to aid users count their calorie intake with the Healthy Eating and Lifestyle program online. Prepare and serve healthy meals by calculating energy and nutrient content, quantified recipe and food cost of your recipe or menu using the Menu Eval Plus. Download the latest National Nutrition Survey data using public files for free. Know if your area is on track of meeting their nutrition targets with eNutrition. Rate the food's characteristics using science-based assessment that is convenient, efficient, time-saving, and many more with enhanced sensory evaluation laboratory. Access 1,500 food items with photos. And many more nutrition data using the Philippine food composition tables. Do you want to know how much Filipinos eat? Perform basic to complicated statistical analysis using the food consumption data of the National Nutrition Survey with the Food Consumption Data Dietary Exposure Assessment. Thinking of starting a business? Learn more about DOST-FNRI's products and technologies and become one of our adapters using the Electronic Technology Transfer Monitoring Map. Using the food consumption data of the National Nutrition Survey is a persistent problem in consumption data. Be part of the solution assessment. Thinking of starting Be part of the DOST package advocacy for the improvement of nutrition of young children. Learn more about DOST-FNRI's products and technologies. Need nutrient, biochemical, and microbiological analysis results? Transfer monitoring map. Using the food Avail our services of the Nutrition is a persistent FNRI service laboratory integrated online system. IFNRI is also home to the first accredited Philippine food efficiency testing provider in the country of nutrition of young children. Learn more about Learn more about this new service. Check out the FNRI Efficiency Testing Laboratory website. Locally available. Internationally comparable reference materials. FNRI Service Laboratory and the improved FNRI Reference Material Portal allows direct access on clients' purchase, from tracking their reference materials from designated courier to extending feedback to FNRI. Learn more about nutrition while having fun. access the different modules of nutritionschool.ph. Play nutrition games with iLearn. New data, more features, available 24/7. Start exploring the new website. Visit i.fnri.dost.gov.ph.
The Food and Nutrition Research Institute's Sensory Evaluation Laboratory primarily serves the sensory evaluation needs of FNRI in-house researches. FNRI SEL assists food industries with their product to move up the value chain and attain global competitiveness through research, teaching or training, and consultancy service. The laboratory is designed following ISO requirement for sensory evaluation. It has a preparation room equipped with chiller and freezer, microwave oven, cooking range, utensils for food preparation and service, a conference room for group discussions, hand washing station, and 10 partitioned evaluation booths with computers, controlled lighting, noise, and temperature. One of FNRI SEL's best assets are the trained and experienced managers, sensory analysts, and sensory panelists. The laboratory employs internationally acceptable and validated test methods and computerized data collection through their customized eSEL software. FNRI SEL offers various services to help food industries with their product development. Consumer acceptability and preference test helps identify which flavor, smell, texture, and appearance is preferred. Descriptive and sensory profiling test includes development of language for product significant attributes and creates its sensory blueprint. Difference test is a procedure used for quality monitoring of in-between batch consistency or changes of product quality through time. Other services: seminars and trainings on sensory evaluation, panelist recruitment and training, consultation on experimental design, computerized data collection. The sensory facilities are used to educate students, entrepreneurs, technical staff of food industries, as well as managers and decision makers on the science of food acceptance. Knowledge on sensory evaluation helps identify which flavors, smell, texture, and appearance deliver to the highest consumer likings. How to avail the services? FNRI SEL plans to extend their sensory evaluation expertise to meet the needs of food-related and consumer products industries. Future endeavors for FNRI SEL, which will ensure consumer perception will be the heart of FNRI food innovation, are the following: infrastructure development to cater testing for appearance, odor, texture, taste, development of expert panels, computerization of data management system with application of sensometrics to extract information from large sensory data, and development of staff competency on fields of flavor science, human behavior, and statistics. The final judge of food quality is our customer. Understand customer insights and consider sensory evaluation as a tool to measure customer satisfaction. Thinking quality? Thinking sensory? Talk to us.
Four years and counting.
Good morning, everyone. We were experiencing rainy afternoons in the past 2 days. However, rest assured that it won't stop us in delivering you the very interesting and comprehensive topics in food and nutrition. Again, welcome to the third day of the 47th DOST-FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition with the theme Good Nutrition in the First 1,000 Days. Starting right is the right start. So before we start, let me acknowledge our guests who are with us this morning, Dr. Maria Teresa Talavera of the Institute of Human Nutrition, UPLB, Dr. Rodolfo Florentino, Ms. Zenaida Velasco, Reverend Father Leonardo E. Dolentas, Ms. Zenaida Velasco, Dr. Mario V. Capanzana, and Ms. Joy Ramos Buenviaje. Of course, we are also receiving greetings from our participants all the way from Panabo City, Davao del Norte, Cebu City, DepEd Negros Occidental, Zamboanga City, Province of Batangas, Calamba City, and DOST CAR. And of course, we know that we have a lot of participants from all areas of the country. We would like to thank everyone who are joining us again this morning, and we hope that you have learned so much from our previous first and technical sessions yesterday. So as you remember, yesterday, we started the discussion of nutrition assessment of our Filipino mothers. We were also presented with the nutrition tools, not just for our pregnant and lactating mothers, but also for our infants and young children. I know everyone is excited as we move on to our next topic. I am Christine Eden Sevilla, and I will be your moderator for this third technical session on micronutrient status. So before we start, allow me to share some important reminders. This technical session is simulcast live via our DOST-FNRI YouTube channel. Hello to all our YouTube subscribers or participants, attendees. Second, please make sure to time in for this session by accomplishing the attendance form provided in the chat box. This is needed for your PRC CPD units. I hope everyone has timed in. After the session, you have to answer the post-test at the FSS website. This post-test link will serve as your logout for the technical session. And failure to answer this post-test will mean that you did not log out for the technical session. Of course, take note also that you have to provide the correct FSS technical session code, without which will mean that you did not answer the post-test and you will not receive the certificate for the session. Again, let me emphasize that we will only provide the FSS technical session code once we are done with our panelists and open forum. And lastly, only registered participants will be given certificates for this 47th DOST-FNRI Seminar Series. These certificates will only be available once you completed the post-test and feedback evaluation forms. So for all our registered participants, the post-test of all sessions will be available up to 3 days after this event. Starting July 12, also the certificates of attendance and certificates of participation for those requiring CPD units will be available. So everyone, please feel free to ask questions. We encourage you to key in your questions in the Q&A box below your screens. Our panelists will address selected questions during the open forum. However, in the interest of time, we may not be able to answer all of them. So I encourage everyone to indicate your name and affiliation so we may be able to get back to you after the event. Again, good morning, everyone. So today we have a set of interesting research studies on micronutrient status. This session will provide us updates on the status of select micronutrient deficiencies among the country's younger population. It aims to provide snapshots on serum zinc deficiency and vitamin D status among children in selected areas of the Philippines. Taken together, this session aims to trigger discussions on how to move forward in addressing the chronic burden of micronutrient malnutrition and deficiencies, particularly in vulnerable groups. Wow, I know everyone's pumped up and excited as we have two researchers from the Institute who will share their studies. Let me introduce our speaker. Our first speaker is a nutritionist dietitian by profession and has expertise in the field of public health and nutrition, as well as nutrition survey research. She is a graduate of BS Nutrition in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. She took her Master's of Food Science and Nutrition in the University of Ghent, Belgium in 2007, and in 2018, she finished her PhD in Human Nutrition from UPLB. She is currently a Senior Science Research Specialist at the Nutrition Assessment and Monitoring Division of FNRI and specializes in the maternal and child health and nutrition and complementary feeding of young children. She has been awarded as a model employee of FNRI in 2020 and has received various awards such as the Academic Excellence Award for PhD in Nutrition from UPLB and International Publication Awards from the National Academy of Science and Technology, DOST. Our first speaker is Dr. Eva A. Goyena. Let me introduce our second speaker. He is Mr. Michael E. Serafico, a chemist by profession and is currently a supervising science research specialist in the Nutrition and Food Research and Development Division of FNRI. He finished his Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry at the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila and had his Master's in Chemistry at the University of Santo Tomas. He is a member of various organizations such as the National Research Council of the Philippines and the Philippine Association for the Advancement of Science and Technology. With a specialization in nutritional biochemistry, Mr. Serafico has authored and co-authored several publications and obtained awards which include the DOST International Publication Awards and the Outstanding Book Award from the National Academy of Science and Technology. Participants, guests, and fellow colleagues, let us welcome our two speakers, Dr. Goyena and Mr. Serafico. So to present us her study on dietary zinc intake and serum zinc deficiency among preschool-age children in the country, I present to you our first panelist, Dr. Eva A. Goyena.
Good morning, everyone. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. It's my pleasure to share with you our in-depth study that we conducted last year using the data of the 2013 National Nutrition Survey with the title Dietary Zinc Intake and Serum Zinc Deficiency Among Preschool-Age Children in the Philippines. On behalf of the research team, I'd like to declare that all authors have no competing financial interests nor personal relationships that could have influenced the content of this presentation. The full report of this study can be accessed at the Philippine Journal of Science website of the DOST. So I'd like to start my presentation by highlighting zinc as an important nutrient that we need to stay healthy. There are four major functions of zinc that I want to highlight. One, zinc is classified as a type 2 nutrient that is involved in different metabolic processes. Deficiency of this type 2 nutrient may not manifest visibly, but it could lead to reduced functions or alter the body's metabolic processes that may affect growth, especially among children. Second, zinc has multiple functions in the maintenance of genetic material, including transcription of DNA, translation of RNA, and cellular division. Third, zinc has a critical role for immune function. And lastly, it assists in the production of hemoglobin, the oxygen-carrying component of our red blood cells. Because of the critical role of zinc in human nutrition, researchers have associated zinc deficiency with stunting. Now, stunting among children under 5 is used as a proxy indicator of zinc deficiency at the population level. Our study was framed based on the following nutrition problems in the country. First, stunting persists as a public health problem, affecting 29% of children below 5 years of age. Then, along with stunting is the problem of micronutrient deficiencies, including iron and vitamin A in children under 5. And last is the low intake of nutrient-dense foods among children based on the 2018-2019 ENNS results. So where can we get this important nutrient, zinc? Zinc is highly available in animal source food like shellfish, meat, liver, poultry, including eggs. And take note that protein from animal source food enhances zinc absorption. On the other hand, plant source food like legumes, nuts, beans, mushroom, whole grains are also good sources of zinc. However, the zinc from this plant source is less available or absorbable because of the phytate and fiber which inhibits zinc absorption. In terms of the required zinc among the preschool age children, the recommended zinc intake is based on the 2015 Dietary Reference Intakes or PDRI, which estimates the amount of zinc needed to prevent zinc deficiency relative to children's age and sex. According to PDRI 2015, infant boys 6 to 11 months old and young children, boys 1 to 2 years old, need to have 2.8 milligrams of zinc per day, while girls in these age groups have 2.5 milligrams and 2.6 milligrams of zinc per day, respectively. For boys in the 3 to 5 age bracket, the required zinc per day is 3.3 milligrams, while 3.2 milligrams of zinc for girls 3 to 5 years old, based on the 2015 PDRI. Because of the limited number of nationally representative studies investigating the dietary zinc inadequacy and serum zinc deficiency in Filipino children, this study was undertaken to 1, assess dietary zinc intake and serum zinc status, and 2nd, to examine the factors associated with zinc deficiency in preschool age children 6 months to 5 years old based on the 2013 National Nutrition Survey data. As I mentioned earlier, this study utilized the data of the 8NNS collected in 2013, which employed a stratified 3-stage sampling design to select children from all the 17 regions and 80 provinces in the Philippines. So a total of 2,892 preschool children 6 months to 71 months with complete anthropometric measurements, serum profile, and food consumption data were all included in this study. So how did we assess the dietary zinc and other selected nutrient intake of children? So in the ENNS, the 2 non-consecutive day food recall method is used to collect food intake of the participants. Then we use the expanded food composition table or FCT of the FNRI and individual dietary evaluation system or IDES to estimate the amount of zinc intake, including energy, all macronutrients, and selected micronutrient intakes of children. So then after computing the zinc and other selected nutrient intakes, we refer to the 2015 PDRI to examine the proportion of children with inadequate zinc intake and other micronutrients based on the adequacy below 100% of the estimated average requirement or EAR, and as well as the proportion of children with less than 100% adequacy for the energy recommendation. For the assessment of serum zinc level among the study participants in the 2013 NNS, blood samples were collected via finger prick method and only collected in the morning to ensure the high quality of blood samples. And then serum zinc level was analyzed using the AAS or the Atomic Absorption Spectrometer by the FNRI Service Laboratory Group. And then zinc deficiency was determined based on the cutoff level of less than 65 microgram per DL set by the International Zinc Nutrition Consultative Group. For the data analysis, data version 15 was used in the analysis to generate proportions and mean estimates. Descriptive analysis was performed to assess the mean dietary zinc intake, mean serum zinc level, prevalence of dietary zinc inadequacies, and prevalence of serum zinc deficiency. And then lastly, a multivariate logistic regression analysis was done to identify the potential factors contributing to serum zinc deficiency. Now let's proceed to the results. For the prevalence of dietary zinc inadequacy, 1 in every 2 preschool-age children, or 47.4, had inadequate zinc intake. In terms of child's age, infants 6 to 11 months old had the highest prevalence of inadequate zinc intake at 68.4% in 2013. Diet of rural children are more likely to be zinc deficient, affecting 55.8% as compared with the diet of urban children, with 39.4% not meeting the zinc adequacy. Also, inadequate zinc intake was more prevalent among underweight at 57.2% and stunted children at 55.1% than children who were not underweight nor stunted. Next, this slide highlights that children from the poorest households at about 63% and children from severely food insecure households at 60.2% were the most affected by dietary zinc inadequacy. Note that dietary zinc inadequacy is higher among children who were not meeting the requirements of energy at 68.5%, not meeting protein adequacy at 93%, not meeting vitamin A at 62.1%, not meeting their iron adequacy and also vitamin C than that of children who were meeting their energy and nutrient requirements. In terms of sources of zinc in the diet of preschool-age children, the contribution of plant-source zinc, which is 52.4%, is significantly higher than that of the animal source zinc at only 42.1%, depicting here that the dietary pattern of preschool-age children is more likely to be a cereal-based diet. Next, among children under age 2 to 5 years, as highlighted by the broken lines, their intake of animal source zinc, shaded by pink, is significantly lower than that of the plant source zinc, shaded by green, which is less bioavailable than the animal source zincs. While infants 6 to 11 months, the animal and plant source of zinc are almost equally proportioned at 34.3% and 33.4% respectively, with a significant contribution of zinc from breast milk at 29.1%. Based on the disaggregated results of zinc intake by source, a lower intake of animal source zinc was also noted among rural children, those who were underweight and stunted as compared with their counterpart children as indicated by the green arrows. I want to highlight also the pattern we observed in this study, where an increasing food insecurity and poverty were associated with decreasing intake of animal source of zinc, as indicated by the blue arrows. And this is a key nutrition concern that could be addressed by appropriate intervention to help reduce the high prevalence of micronutrient deficiencies as well as stunting among our preschool age children. So what I've presented are all about the prevalence of dietary zinc inadequacy. Now let's have the zinc deficiency prevalence based on serum level of zinc less than 65 microgram per DL. So 1 in 5 preschool age children was zinc deficient in 2013, a level considered to be of moderately high public health concern. The deficiency was significantly highest among infants 6 months to less than 2 years old at 21%, which is consistent with the results of the dietary zinc inadequacy. We can say that the quality of complementary food given to the young children may underlie this concern. Also consistent with the results of dietary zinc inadequacy is the serum zinc deficiency based on low serum zinc level, which was higher among children in the rural areas at 21.1%, from the poorest households at 27.9%, and from the food insecure households at 25.3%, all are indicated by these red arrows. Next, the prevalence of zinc deficiency based on serum level less than 65 microgram per DL was also higher among those with red arrows, the underweight, stunted, anemic, and serum vitamin A deficient as compared with children who have better nutritional status. Thus, zinc deficiency, just to highlight, coexists with undernutrition and also with other micronutrient deficiencies. Based on the multivariable logistic regression analysis that we done, the risk factors of zinc deficiency were 1, stunting. Stunting increases the likelihood of children to become zinc deficient as compared to children who are not stunted. Serum vitamin A deficiency also increases the risk of children to be zinc deficient than children who had normal serum retinol concentrations. Poverty also increases the risk of zinc deficiency by 3 to 4 folds, which is a strong predictor based on this analysis. And on the other hand, adequate dietary vitamin A intake has a protective effect whereby it reduces the risk of zinc deficiency. Now, with all the results presented, I can sum up as first, a high prevalence of inadequate zinc intake and serum zinc deficiency among preschool children based on the results of this study. Second, a lower intake of animal source zinc, which is more bioavailable than plant source zinc, was noted among the study participants. Third, zinc deficiency coexists with underweight, stunting, and other micronutrient deficiencies. And lastly, the risk factors of zinc deficiency based on our analysis are stunting, serum vitamin A deficiency, dietary vitamin A inadequacy, and poverty. Using a nationally representative data of the NNS to generate information, it's worth highlighting the need to strengthen the following key programs. First, the micronutrient supplementation including zinc by the national and local implementers. Second, zinc fortification of commonly consumed foods by children can be explored by food industries. Third, the need to promote the consumption of animal source food which have higher bioabsorbable zinc. And last, there is a need for complementation and collaboration of local health and social welfare offices for the key programs of micronutrient supplementation and social protection to achieve their full potential in addressing stunting and micronutrient deficiencies. In terms of future research, it is recommended that more research is needed to determine the impact of these strategies interventions on nutrition outcomes, including zinc nutrition or status of Filipino children. That's all, and I'm done with my presentation. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat for listening. I will now hand over to my colleague, Ms. Christine.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Guyena, for that wonderful presentation. Dr. Eva has presented us that there is high prevalence of inadequacy of zinc intake, and children from the poorest and severely food insecure households seem to be the most affected with this dietary zinc inadequacy. So this seems to be a really public health concern. She has also suggested as actions such as micronutrient supplementation, promotion of animal source of zinc, and zinc fortification to help us address stunting and micronutrient deficiencies. For that, let's give Dr. Guyena a virtual clap. So before we proceed to our next speaker, let me acknowledge our guests who took time to join us this morning. Shout out to Dr. Cecilia Acuin, our PAN president. Hello also to Ms. Annabel Surara. Good morning to Dr. Corazon Barba, to Dr. Celeste Tanchoco, our friends from the media, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. Hello also to Ms. Ardeen Ririo, NNC Regional Nutrition Program Coordinator for Region 5, and Mr. Lyndon Plantilla. Hello po to all our guests. We currently have 870 participants and counting, and we are really glad that you are here with us this morning. Again, as a reminder to all our participants, feel free to type in your questions, and you may include your name, affiliation, and email address so that we can answer them during the open forum. Now, to present us the vitamin D status among Filipino children, it is my honor to present to you our second speaker, Mr. Michael E. Serafico.
Good morning, everyone. My presentation is about the vitamin D status in Filipino school-age children in selected areas covered in the 2018 Expanded National Nutrition Survey. I am Michael Serafico, a supervising science research specialist at the Department of Science and Technology, Food and Nutrition Research Institute. The project team has no known competing financial interests or personal relationships that could have appeared to influence the work in this presentation. The project was partially funded by Nestle Philippines Incorporated. I'll start the presentation by discussing vitamin D nutrition, its sources, functions, and deficiencies. Then, our study on the vitamin D status of Filipino children, and lastly, provide you with a summary and call for actions. Let me start on how and where can we get the vitamin D that is needed by the body. Part of our skin, the epidermis, contains the compound 7-dehydrocholesterol in large quantities. Upon exposure to sunlight, this compound absorbs energy and turns into cholecalciferol. Cholecalciferol is the form of vitamin D, which can also be found in dietary sources such as fatty fish, eggs, mushrooms, and meats, while milk and margarine are the best vehicle for fortification. Moving on, the liver further converts this cholecalciferol into 25-hydroxyvitamin D, also known as calcidiol, which is the circulating form and thus one of the most stable vitamin D biomarkers. This is the form of vitamin D that physicians measure to determine a person's vitamin D status. This vitamin D form is then again converted into 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D or calcitriol, the active form of the vitamin that our bodies can use to increase intestinal calcium absorption and mobilize calcium from the skeleton. This process is relatively efficient since 10 minutes of summer sun on the hands and face is sufficient to generate our daily requirement of the vitamin. For children, the recommended dietary intake for vitamin D is 5 microgram per day. Since the sun is needed for the production of vitamin D through our skin, high levels of air pollution is one of the factors that can hinder our vitamin D production. In essence, vitamin D plays a role in two of the largest systems in our body, the skeletal and immune systems. Its primary role is to ensure sufficient blood levels of calcium by increasing calcium absorption within the small intestine and by promoting calcium reabsorption from renal tubes, thereby decreasing the rate of calcium excretion. In other words, calcium is one of the key minerals for bone health, and vitamin D helps to ensure that we have enough of it. For this reason, vitamin D deficiency has strong associations with a range of bone disorders and disease, including rickets, the most severe form of vitamin D-associated bone disease in children, osteomalacia, and osteoporosis. In addition to calcium, vitamin D has similar effect upon magnesium and phosphorus. Both are key minerals for bone health. Vitamin D also plays a central role within the immune system through its ability to modulate immune response. In this regard, Research demonstrates that vitamin D can inhibit the production of pro-inflammatory compounds. Furthermore, various observational studies, meta-analysis, and randomized clinical trials suggest that higher plasma levels of vitamin D may have a protective effect against breast, colorectal, pancreatic, and prostate cancers. Latest evidences point on the putative roles of vitamin D in the light of COVID-19 and other respiratory diseases. How do we determine the level of circulating vitamin D in our body? Using serum, we can measure the vitamin D concentration via immunoassay, chromatography, and mass spectrometry. Mass spectrometry is an analytical technique used to measure the ratio of mass to charge of ions. The results are typically presented as a mass spectrum like the one you see in this figure. High-performance liquid chromatography, a technique used to separate, identify, and quantify compounds in a mixture, can also be employed to determine vitamin D concentration. Another technique is through immunoassay. It is a biochemical test that measures the presence or concentration of a macromolecule or a small molecule in a solution through the use of an antibody or an antigen. Therefore, immunoassays can be qualitative. Example is the use of pregnancy kit, or quantitative, used to determine the concentration of an analyte. The clinical practice guidelines of the Endocrine Society Task Force on vitamin D have defined a cutoff level of 50 nanomole per liter as vitamin D deficient. Furthermore, different societies and expert bodies have defined 50 nanomole per liter as vitamin D requirement of nearly all normal healthy persons by using bone health as the main basis. The vitamin D status of children have been assessed in different parts of the world. Year of assessment and pediatric age varied, while deficiency based on the 50 nanomole per liter concentration cutoff differ from as low as 6% among 1 to 5-year-old Canadian children in 2013 to as high as 58% in 15-year-old girls in 2009. Most recent study conducted among 0 to 8-year-old children in some African countries showed 7.8% prevalence of vitamin D deficiency. How about the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency in Filipino children? Well, that is what this presentation is about to tell you, because this study aimed to assess the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency among Filipino children in selected areas. Approximately 800 children aged 6 to 12 years old from selected areas, which were covered in the 2018 Expanded National Nutrition Survey, were assessed for their vitamin D status. How were these areas selected? All the 40 areas covered in the Expanded National Nutrition Survey were clustered by region. Each region, the National Capital Region excluded, was then clustered into the 3 main island groups, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. From each group, 2 areas were randomly selected as the study sites. These areas were the cities of Manila and Quezon in the NCR, Cagayan Province and Baguio City in Luzon, the provinces of Northern Samar and Siquijor in the Visayas, and the province of Sultan Kudarat and Butuan City in Mindanao. Height and weight of the children were measured using a stadiometer and platform beam balance weighing scale, respectively. Blood samples were obtained at the Barangay Health Center from 6 a.m. to 12 noon in an unfasted state. Data on the socioeconomic and demographic variables were collected from all participating children via interview. Serum 25-hydroxyvitamin D was analyzed using chemiluminescent microparticle immunoassay, a modified and advanced form of the enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, or ELISA. Independent t-test was used to test the difference of mean vitamin D concentration for two groups, and one-way ANOVA to test the difference of the mean vitamin D concentration for more than two groups. Chi-square test was employed to determine the association between vitamin D and the characteristic of the population. Regression was used to measure the odds of having vitamin D deficiency. The protocol was approved by the FNRI Institutional Ethics Review Committee with Protocol Reference Code FIERC 2017-017. Here are the results of our study. The mean age of the participating children is 9.8 years old. About half of them girls, while 37% lives in urban areas. Most of their parents, both around 50%, reached or finished high school. This slide shows the mean serum vitamin D concentration of the children. Results show a significantly different levels between boys and girls, with girls having a significantly lower mean value. In terms of place of residence, children living in urban areas have significantly lower serum vitamin D concentration compared to children living in rural areas. Among the island group, NCR, or the National Capital Region, has the lowest mean vitamin D concentration. To provide you a glimpse of the proportion of children with vitamin D deficiency in each of the areas assessed, presented in this table are the figures. The prevalence of vitamin D deficiency by demographic characteristics is compared in this slide. A significantly higher proportion of girls are deficient of vitamin D. That is, around 12% are vitamin D deficient as compared to boys with a vitamin D deficiency prevalence rate of 8.6%. Also, more children, around 18%, living in urban areas are deficient of vitamin D. And then again, among the island groups, highest prevalence of vitamin D deficiency and was found in the National Capital Region. Data on vitamin D insufficiency is presented in this slide. Insufficiency exists when the concentration of circulating vitamin D ranges from 50 nanomole per liter to less than 75 nanomole per liter. A significantly higher proportion of girls are insufficient of vitamin D. That is, around 58% are vitamin D insufficient as compared to boys with a vitamin D insufficiency prevalence rate of 43%. Also, more children, around 59%, living in urban areas have insufficient levels of vitamin D. Although proportions of children with vitamin D insufficiency, although proportions of children with vitamin D deficiency were less than 10% in the rest of the island groups, proportion of children with insufficient vitamin D levels were still high. On this table, you can see that older children, that is 11 to 12 years old, as compared to 6 to 10 years old, have higher likelihood of being vitamin D deficient. Girls are 1.5 times likely to be vitamin D deficient, and that the odds of having vitamin D deficiency is 5.4 times higher in children living in an urban area as opposed to living in a rural area. In summary, let me bring you back to this table on the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency in pediatric population. Allow me to put our data in reference to an article published in the Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism last January of this year. Overall, the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency in children from selected areas in the Philippines is relatively lower than those in other countries. Our study revealed that living in urban areas is a major contributor to having vitamin D deficiency. Cities are where we see the center of commerce, employment, and education. The limited space causes people, including children, to spend more time indoors. Moreover, children go to classes early in the morning, around 6 to 7 a.m., and return home at around 12 noon. Furthermore, children tend to stay inside the house to play computer games or watch TV. Time outside the home to get sunlight is very limited. Another thing, girls in this study and even in others have higher prevalence of vitamin D deficiency. This could be an attribution to the amount of subcutaneous fat in females. It had been hypothesized that more amount of subcutaneous fat could take up more vitamin D molecules produced from the skin that could lead to lower vitamin D particles entering the blood circulation. Aside from this, other factors that are known to affect vitamin D concentration are skin pigmentation, use of sunscreen or heavy clothing, season, air pollution, age, and obesity. Just for info, based on the report of the Environmental Management Bureau of the Department of Natural Resources for the year 2018, monitoring results showed that the particulate matter level passed the air quality guideline value for both PM10 and PM2.5 standards. And for some whose vitamin D deficiency is due to poor absorption by the intestine or liver disease or low blood calcium due to hypoparathyroidism, vitamin D supplements are available in the market, as well as vitamin D fortified food products such as breakfast cereals, milk, and orange juice, to name a few. What will be our call for actions? Health professionals should strengthen educational interventions and increase vitamin D nutrition literacy. For policymakers to recognize vitamin D as an important micronutrient for children. Industry must be involved and be encouraged to fortify food products with vitamin D. The media should be our partners to enhance consumer knowledge on health and nutrition, and our call to action for parents and food managers to include vitamin D-rich foods in meal planning and encourage their children to include and enjoy regular outdoor activities. Lastly, a study to estimate the national prevalence of vitamin D deficiency among Filipino children is recommended. Let me leave you with this encouraging thought from Dr. Daniel Bickel of the University of California, San Francisco on dermal vitamin D production. And I quote, "Vitamin D production in the skin under the influence of sunlight is maximized at levels of sunlight exposure that do not burn the skin. So go out and enjoy the sunshine." Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Serafico, as we call him, also Sir Kim. That was very informative and interesting presentation. We have learned that children living in urban areas such as here in Metro Manila have significantly lower serum vitamin D concentration compared to those living in rural areas. These are very noteworthy and interesting results, and I know that our participants agree with me. And so for that, let's give Mr. Michael Serafico a virtual clap. We are glad that the presentations have been very informative. So before we proceed to our open forum for your questions, we will be having a 15-minute break. The FSS technical session code again will be provided later once we are done with the open forum. So we hope that you will stay with us as we return. This is the 47th FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition. Again, good morning, everyone. We are still live here at the 47th FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition with the theme Good Nutrition in the First 1,000 Days. Starting right is the right start. So after hearing the presentations from our resource panelists earlier, we are now proceeding to our Q&A or open forum. So just a quick reminder, our FSS technical session code will be available later after this Q&A. For the meantime, let us hear an interesting discussion with our two panelists. May I request Dr. Eva and Sir Kim to open their video cameras for our Q&A. So let's wait for them.
Hello, Ma'am Christine. I can't open my video.
Oh,
How could I?
Good morning.
good
morning,
morning.
everyone.
Can you hear me?
So while Dr. Eva is opening her video, let me acknowledge Dr. Maria Asuncion Silvestre. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Start my video. Hello.
Okay, regardless, I think Dr. Eva can still hear us.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Miss Christine.
Okay.
I'm just checking my video.
So let me present the first question to Mr. Serafico. So we have a question here from an anonymous attendee. It says, what is the recommended duration for the sunlight exposure among Filipinos? Does FNRI or other local agencies have published recommendation that we can use as a reference? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stein. Thank you for that question. As I said in the background of the nutrition on vitamin D, actually at 10 minutes of sun exposure is enough or sufficient for us to generate our daily requirement of the vitamin. So even in the face or in the hands, you're exposed to sun for 10 minutes, you already have your daily requirement of the vitamin. For the recommendation, I believe we don't have a recommendation for sunlight exposure, but we have in the Philippine Dietary Recommended Intakes or PDRI, how much of dietary vitamin D should be taken daily. So you can check our publication on that. Thank you.
Okay, so the publication is actually available and we encourage participants to view those. There is a follow-up question also regarding this since we're talking about sunlight exposure. So Mr. Michael Ian Bolalin is asking if the use of sunblock lotions could hinder the activation of vitamin D in the skin. He assumes that sunblock lotions are like clouds or pollution that hinder the sunlight.
That's right, Mr. Michael. Thank you for the question. Actually, a sunscreen with an SPF of 30 can block about 98% of the UV radiation. So theoretically, it hinders the production of vitamin D by approximately 98%. That's SPF 30. So for SPF 15, it blocks the sunlight or the UV radiation by 90%. So you can see the a small difference. SPF 30 blocks 98% of the sun exposure, while 15 SPF blocks 90%. So you can calculate how much sunscreen should you apply to get the required vitamin D requirement.
Okay, thank you for that, Sir Kim. So I think that is a very important reminder, especially for those talagang using SPF 30 or the sunblock lotions. So thank you po, Mr. Kim. I will address the next question naman po to Dr. Goyena. Is Dr. Goyena already here? Doc Eva, are you there? Okay, since... Ayan po.
Yes, but I cannot open my video right now. I don't know why.
Sige po, Doc. Okay lang po siguro, but we can still throw the question.
Yes, okay po.
Okay, so the first question is from an anonymous attendee.
Okay.
What are the current programs in the Philippines that aims to improve the zinc status of the Filipino population, and what are the gaps?
Okay. Thank you very much for the very important question on what are the programs in the Philippines that are currently implemented to improve the zinc intake of young children. One, we have under the micronutrient supplementation program of the Department of Health, and na-revise po kasi yung program na ito wherein there is na-stipulate po the use of the multiple micronutrient powder or the MNP, which contains 15 micronutrients including zinc, to be sprinkled or to be added in the complementary food of our young children 6 months to 23 months. Ang tawag po nito kasi hindi na siya supplement, but it's not micronutrient supplementation, but it's a home fortification. You are fortifying the complementary food of young children of the different essential micronutrients, including zinc, with the aim to improve the micronutrient intake of our young children in the complementary feeding. Kasi ito yung problem talaga di ba? Kita po natin na ang taas ng prevalence of zinc deficient, dietary zinc inadequacy, not only zinc but other micronutrients during complementary feeding. So this is the program of DOH to really improve the quality of complementary food eaten by our young children during complementary feeding period. So ito po yung program, along with, of course, the appropriate or proper IYCF, infant and young child feeding practices of, again, during the first 1,000 days, so from birth up to 23 months, na dapat we have to follow the early initiation of breastfeeding as immediately after birth. Second, to promote exclusive breastfeeding until 6 months. And of course, the proper complement. So it's the whole spectrum of IYCF to have to follow this. The DOH and other partner agencies are promoting this proper IYCF during the first 1,000 days in order to help po to ensure ensure the improvement of micronutrient status of our young children. And then one thing, there is also a program of DOH wherein during diarrhea, so they promote the use of zinc supplement during diarrhea in order to prevent the severity and to lessen the duration of diarrhea po among children. So these, I think, are the programs right now of the DOH. And there are also other programs wherein yung promotion nga po ng dietary diversification, including po yung fortification program, although sa zinc, hindi siya mandatory po na i-fortify ang ating mga staple foods like rice or flour or cooking oil, parang ganun. Wala pa naman. So, hindi siya included yung zinc fortification. But there are other products right now available in the market that are fortified with zinc. So, yun lang, Ma'am Christine.
Okay.
And then the gap, by the way, so ito po yung laging tinatanong ng mga participants in terms of the gap of the different programs. Well, we know that we have this program at the national, so again, depends on the level of implementation at the local government units. So we really need to, if we follow the guidelines of DOH in terms of the micronutrient supplementation, so dapat everyone, so lahat ng batang nasa 6 to 20 should be receiving this MNP. So, and then, yun, dapat ginagamit talaga. So, dapat nakikita natin siya sa ground. So, I think ito yung pinakamalaking challenge po sa country natin na the implementation of these different programs.
Wow, okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
po, Dr. Eva. I think talagang interesting to know that we have a lot of programs regarding this micronutrient deficiencies, particularly in zinc. So as a follow-up question from Doc Ces Akuin of PAN to Dr. Guyena pa rin po. So aside from diet, what are the likely other factors contributing to high zinc deficiency rates? Example, is it morbidity or poor wash?
So in our study, Doc says we actually included a wide variety of potential contributory factors to zinc deficiency, from household characteristics, socio-demographic, including this wash. So meron po kaming variables sa NNS, ENNS, na ito yung wash, under wash po, it's the improved source of improved toilet facility, then safe source of drinking water. Apparently, hindi po siya lumabas sa analysis namin. Wala po, hindi siya positively associated or walang association na nakita. And so, hindi po nakasama dito sa model namin. And then for the other one, the morbidity, unfortunately, it was not included in the questionnaire po, yung morbidity, child morbidity po, in our survey po. So, yun, hindi na-include yung morbidity, including mga infection, presence of infection or inflammation po. So, it was not accounted in the study po, Doc says.
Okay, thank you po, Doc Eva. So I think we have another question for Mr. Serafico, Sir Kim. It says here, what is the difference between vitamin D2 and D3 in terms of bioavailability and sources? Do you attribute higher vitamin D levels in rural versus urban and in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao versus NCR to sun exposure?
Thank you, Ms. Stein. That's a very long question. I can't remember the few parts of the question. But anyway, vitamin D2 is mainly coming from plant sources, while vitamin D3 is coming from animal sources. Comparing their bioavailability, vitamin D3 is produces more of the circulating vitamin D in our body. So it's more viable. Just like the bioavailability of iron from plant and animal sources, the bioavailability of vitamin D in animal sources is better. The next part of the question is the rural and urban. I didn't get the question.
Wait, sir. Let me repeat the question. Sorry. Do you attribute higher vitamin D levels in rural versus urban or Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao versus NCR to sun exposure?
To sun exposure, yeah. I guess I stated that in the background we're in. If you see the lifestyle or the habits of residents in the urban area, they are usually afraid of the sun.
Yes.
So yeah,
That's true.
You can see people wearing jackets even in under the sun, just to protect themselves from being burned, I guess, or having some sort of skin burning or burnt skin, because most of our urban residents, because of commercialization of whitening products, they are afraid of sun exposure. Parang mababawasan yung epekto ng mga whitening products na ginagamit natin if you are exposed to the sun. And I guess meron ding tanong on the sources of vitamin D. Am I right? Yung vitamin D, D3 comes from fatty fish. Although mahal sila kasi yung mga fatty fish na available sa market natin are salmon, tuna, mackerel, na hindi siya usually kino-consume ng mga Filipinos because of the price. But they can consume other sources like milk and fortified milk. So I suggest you look at the labels of the milk products that you give to your children if there's what level of vitamin D is there. Sa vitamin D2, usually it comes from supplements, mushrooms, and other plant sources. Thank you, Ms. Time.
Thank you po, Sir Kim. So, we have here another question for Dr. Goyena, Dr. Eva. Are there practical ways to determine if zinc intake is sufficient?
Zinc intake. So as I mentioned in my introduction, no, ngayon right now it's being used. Zinc deficiency is it's stunting is now being used as a proxy indicator of zinc deficiency. So it could be based on the serum level, low serum zinc level. So if and based on the evidence of this study, pag nakikita po natin na meron ng undernourished na yung bata, not growing well, hindi na siya tumatangkad, so most probably may problem na po siya sa zinc intake, mababa po ang diet zinc intake ng bata and some other essential micronutrients. So it coexists, hindi lang din po talaga zinc ang problem, but other micronutrients. So kita po dito sa study na nagko-coexist ang zinc deficiency with other micronutrient deficiencies like iron and vitamin A. So, and then if the child is recurrent yung kanyang illness, infectious diseases, no, hindi pabalik-balik, not growing well, so merong malamang-lamang po yung problem, meron siyang inadequate zinc intake and other and also with the other food, nutritious food. I mean. So ito po yung practical way na kikita ko po.
Okay. So thank you, Doc Eva. Another question regarding this zinc intake. It was stated in the study that children in rural area acquires higher intake of zinc compared to those children in urban areas. The participant is asking, do you think that the difference in the agricultural status of rural areas compared to urban areas are one of the factors for this to happen?
Actually, yung result ko baliktad po yun. I think based sa result of our study, zinc intake is higher among urban children as compared to rural children. So it's the opposite. So yun po. So if we look at the different factors why mas mataas ang zinc intake, dietary zinc intake ng mga urban children, so actually we can relate this one in terms of yung food insecurity, poverty, and yung accessibility of nutritious food, including yung animal source food. So yun po yung nakikita natin.
Okay.
Na possible explanation on that.
Thank you po, Doc Eva. Another question po from Ms. Bel Surara of Radyo Aguila to Sir Kim. Kapag ba sobra ang intake ng vitamin D, dangerous po ba lalo na sa mga bata? Paano natin malalaman na sobra ang intake ng vitamin D? May mga sintomas po ba?
Thank you, Ms. Annabelle. Medyo hindi ganon ka-prevalent yung vitamin consumption ng vitamin D, since kung sun exposure yung source ng vitamin D, merong nagtitrigger sa body na i-stop yung production. So hindi nagkakaroon ng overproduction ng vitamin D when the source is the sun. Nagkakaroon lang siya ng overconsumption if you take too much of a vitamin D supplement. Ang magiging epekto naman nun kung marami kang vitamin D, maapektuhan din yung calcium levels mo sa katawan. And eventually, yung mga symptoms, pwedeng magkaroon ng poor appetite yung bata, nausea, yun. Yung mga symptoms ng vitamin D intoxication. Since it's fat-soluble vitamin.
Okay po. Salamat po, Sir Kim. I hope that is sufficient for Miss Annabelle. Another question po for Doc Eva. Given the high cost of fortified products and animal sources, what plant sources can you recommend to improve zinc nutrition among children?
Okay, thank you for that question po. So as I've mentioned in my presentation po na there are also plant sources like legumes, nuts, beans, mushroom, whole grains. Matataas din po yung kanilang zinc content. However nga po, because of the phytate content of this plant source food, nai-inhibit po. So mas less bioavailable po, less absorbed po yung zinc ng mga pagkaing mga plant source food na ito. So there are recommendations po based on the different studies na dapat i-consider po natin yung mga technologies that could reduce the phytate content of the different food, particularly yung mga cereals na mas madalas kainin po ng ating mga bata during complementary feeding. So yun po yung highlight po din ng isang study namin na there should be technologies that could reduce the phytate content of these plant source food.
Okay po. So I think that also answers the other participants' question na is there any way to counteract the phytate from plants to make zinc more absorbable? So we can have one more question. Let's have here to Sir Kim or Doc Eva, any one of you can answer. It says here, with the ongoing pandemic, there are many families who are only relying from the ayudas and the money that they receive from 4Ps. As R&Ds and healthcare workers, how are we going to fight micronutrient deficiencies among children of indigent families who can only afford to eat 1 to 2 times a day, and their only source of nutrients are from canned and or processed foods? It's already given that they have access to some foods under the food fortification program. Are there any ongoing initiatives that help in fighting micronutrient deficiencies amidst the pandemic? This could be possibly long-term initiatives since we don't know as to when the pandemic will end. Anyone po, kay Sir or kay Doc?
Sir Kim, you go ahead.
Doc Eva, ikaw yung nutritionist. Anyway, I would like to thank yung isang nag-react sa chat box, no, that he's reminding clarification isn't sardines, Miss Elaine. Sardines is a good source of vitamin D also. So I acknowledge her message. Yes, sardines is also a good source of vitamin D, and it's usually in the ayuda pack, diba? And I guess for vitamin D, I'll be talking about vitamin D since it's the topic I presented. Since the source of our vitamin D here in the Philippines is natural, it's free. So mag-expose ka lang sa sun for about 5 to 10 minutes a day, you get your daily requirements. I guess na in general, siguro may mga nutritionists din naman talaga ang mga LGUs, so they can they can recommend yung mga tamang ilalagay na pagkain dun sa mga ayuda package to prevent micronutrient deficiencies. No, Doc Eva?
I agree with Sir Kim, yes po. So, this pandemic, ito po talaga, during this pandemic po talagang hindi po natin alam kung gaano ang impact ng pandemic sa ating micronutrient deficiency and undernutrition among our vulnerable groups. So, as one of our recommendations po nga na there should be yung complementation po ng different offices, no? Especially po sa local government, sa local level po, no? Na we have to maximize the different programs, specifically those sa mga social protection programs of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, the SWD, in terms of yung food packs. Potential po ito, no? Laki ng opportunity para i-ride po yung mga nutrition programs natin. Sayang kasi yung missed opportunity po to kung hindi siya ma-maximize. So the food packs, the 4Ps, as one of the to yung very what do you call it, widely na pinopromote o ini-implement itong food packs, food assistance, and the 4Ps. So ito po, it's high time siguro na include natin yung mga different nutrition programs, yung MNP. So nandyan po, available at the local government units, sa RHU, i-insert nyo na po natin yan, yung different feeding and different resources na kailangan ng family, especially among those who are really vulnerable, yung talagang deserve na makareceive talaga ng food assistance. So kailangan po yun, i-integrate natin lahat to optimize the potential of these different DOH programs and DSWD programs, and even dun sa mga school feeding programs. So I think marami na pong nag-i-implement nito. So they are ensuring talaga na yung mga food packs, kasi dry ration na po ngayon ang ibinibigay, wala ng school feeding. So dapat talaga in accordance with the DSWD guidelines on school feeding program po, na nutritious, namimit talaga yung nutritional and energy requirements. And even po dun sa pag-evaluate ng ating content, kung ano dapat ang inilalagay natin sa food packs for the families po, no? So tingnan natin yung energy and nutrient adequacy po niya, kasi yung iba pagkakasyahin po nila yung mga sardines, canned goods, and then rice, commodity, pagkakasyahin nila para magkasya yung supply na yun, so siguro maapektuhan yung nutritional intake ng mga households, vulnerable households natin. So yun lang po ang nakikita namin po na programs. So actually, and may mga tinatawag po tayo kasi mga long-term programs na different programs ng government, excluding ito yung promotion po. May isang question po si Dr. Riza from PhilRice about yung paano ito ma-afford kasi it's not accessible, no? Though we are promoting the animal source food, meat, eggs, ganun po. But then paano yung question of affordability and accessibility? So even if we promote the consumption of these nutritious food products, animal source food products, it's still conditional po. Depende sa yung supply ng country natin, yung equal distribution niya and accessibility niya ng iba't ibang all classes of households po, specifically yung mga poor income group. So ito po dapat yung tignan natin. So paano yung ma-access yung nutritious food, especially during this time of pandemic. So yun po.
Tama po. Maraming salamat po, Doc Eva. And as one of our panelist also mentioned, sabi niya nga po, depende po ang programs din to each LGU. Ang budget-wise din po kasi ay kada LGU. But we would like to thank those LGUs that are exerting their efforts. Meron daw silang tinatawag na tutok kainan supplementation program for pregnant women. They provide nutribans and wet feeding, meaning nutri-rich ulams provided by the BNS. So 90-day program. So diba, it is good to hear din po the inputs from our participants. So maraming salamat po. Before we end, there is one last final na po, no? question. Is there daw as a possibility of looking into high diarrhea incidents in high burden areas affecting under 5 children under the ENNS and do sub-analysis of zinc levels? I think this is for Doc Eva.
Yeah. However po, ang limitation po is a cross-sectional survey, so one-shot assessment. So we can only have the history of the episode, or the history of diarrhea episode, but how we cannot ascertain po yung duration and then yung series of incidents po ng diarrhea, because one shot lang po kami. We only stay in the area, in the barangay for 2 to 3 days. So hindi po namin mako-cover yung And this study should be the design of this study should be more better kung longitudinal, may follow up, so we can really associate the zinc status and kung sino yung target age group po natin.
Okay po, maraming salamat, Doc Eva and Sir Kim. I think this is the only time we have for the Q&A. Thank you to all our participants. We have logged in around 70 questions, but in the sense of time, those questions which we were not able to accommodate, you may approach our panelists offline, or they will approach you offline to answer your questions. Again, thank you very much. It was a very interesting discussion we have this morning. Our panelists deserve some recognition. So can we have virtual clap naman po sa ating mga participants and guests? So with that, let us proceed to the awarding of certificates to our panelists. I would like also to request the presence of Dr. Agdepa or Dr. Calibo to be present. So let me read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, DOST-FNRI, in cooperation with the Food and Nutrition Research Institute Employees Association Incorporated, present this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Eva A. Goyena for sharing her invaluable time and knowledge as presenter. For the paper entitled, I'm sorry, there is some, salamat po. Paper entitled Dietary Zinc Intake and Serum Zinc Deficiency Among Preschool Age Children in the Philippines during the 47th FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition, with the theme Good Nutrition in the First 1,000 Days, Starting Right is the Right Start. Given this 7th day of July 2021 at the Department of Science and Technology, FNRI. Signed by Overall Chair Ms. Charmaine A. Duante, FNRI Employees Association President Leia Dahay, and our Director and Scientist too, Dr. Imelda Angeles Agdepa.
Thank you po.
Congratulations, Dr. Goyena.
Thank you po. Thank you, Dr. Calibo.
Thank you po, Doc Eva. Again, let me present the certificate of appreciation to Mr. Michael E. Serafico for sharing his invaluable time and knowledge as presenter of the paper entitled Vitamin D Status in 6 to 12 years old children in selected provinces and cities, Expanded National Nutrition Survey 2018, during this 47th FNRI Seminar Series Virtual Edition. Given this 7th day of July again, the DOST-FNRI. Signed Overall Chair Ms. Charmaine Duante, Ms. Leia Dahay, President of FNRI Employees Association, and Dr. Imelda Angeles Agdepa, Director 4 and Scientist 2.
Congratulations, Mr. Serafico.
Congratulations po and job well done to all our panelists. So that ends our technical session 3. Let's have a quick virtual photo opportunity. Everyone is here.
Thank you, Ms. Sevilla, for wonderfully moderating this morning session.
Thank you po, Doc.
Congratulations po.
So I guess it's done. Maraming salamat po again to our panelists, to our guests, to our participants, to all the MANCOM members of FNRI. So we would like to thank you and I hope that you have learned a lot from today's session. So before we end, of course, let me read again our important reminders. A lot of our participants are asking questions regarding this. First thing, please answer the post test at the FSS website. This will be available up to 3 days. Again, that will be available maximum of 3 days after the event. So please do check the website. Also, you will be asked to input the FSS technical session code. Ito na po ang code for all our participants. Our FSS technical session code for technical session 3 is BKQ393. Again, that is BKQ393. It is important to note that you have to provide the correct FSS technical session code, and failure to do so will mean that you did not answer the post test. Only registered participants will be given certificates. This will be available once you answer your post test and evaluation links. Also, on accomplishing the evaluation form, please be reminded to complete the data on your profession, PRC number, and expiry date as a requirement for your CPD units. So we also look forward that you will stay with us until the 9th of July as we continue the 47th FNRI seminar series. Our next session this afternoon, our panelists will tackle the nutritional status of Filipino adolescents, another exciting set of presentations. This has been your moderator, Christine Eden Sevilla. So some announcements before we end. The Philippine Association of Nutrition Incorporated cordially invites you to PAN 2021 Annual Convention virtual platform with the theme Malnutrisyon, tulong-tulong nating labanan, first 1,000 days, sama-sama nating tutukan. This will be held this coming July 22 to 23, 2021. PAN Convention is an annual event hosted by PAN Incorporated to unite its members, student and provincial chapters, professional individuals, and multi-sectoral planners and implementers for the first 1,000 days program and projects. This will be at the local and national levels. PAN has also invited renowned individuals in the field of health and nutrition to discuss topics regarding the nutrition problems in our country that we are encountering. Register now at the link that you can find on your screens. You can take a screenshot for that link. Registration fee is at 200 pesos. For more questions or concerns, please feel free to message them on their page or email them at panconvention2021@gmail.com. Again, that is panconvention2021@gmail.com. So see you there. #panconvention2021. So before we end the session, the 47th FNRI seminar series would like to acknowledge our sponsors. Gold sponsor, Nutrident's Food Manufacturing Corporation, a leading food manufacturer of healthy, nutritious, and research-based food products distributed worldwide. Swiss Pharma Research Laboratories Incorporated, a leading manufacturer of pharmaceutical products in the Philippines and a technology adapter of the enhanced Nutriban. Thank you also to our silver sponsor, Maan's Bake Shop from Davao City, one of the newest licensees of the DOST-FNRI developed enhanced Nutribond technology. Thank you to our bronze sponsor, the Department of Science and Technology National Capital Region Regional Office. Mary Loy's Food Products and Merchandising from Tumawini, Isabela. Waffle Time and Great Foods Concept Incorporated in Iloilo City. And RCJ Trading and General Merchandise. We also would like to extend our thank you to other major sponsors. The Philippine Association of Nutrition Incorporated. The First Analytical Services and Technical Cooperative or FAST Laboratories. Arteche Bread House from Eastern Samar. Ruben's Bake Shop from Catbalogan, Samar. JA Fruits and Vegetable Processing from San Mateo, Isabela. Science Savings and Loan Association Incorporated or SSLI. The Hermanos Pizza from Tangub City, Misamis Occidental. And Wellness Pro. Again, thank you very much to our sponsors for your continued support. Thank you to everyone, our participants, our guests, our fellow colleagues. Have a healthy lunch and stay safe. This is the 47th FNRI Seminar Series.
the parents are working while the stress is tough. Just remember the following. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a run or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Inspire others to do the same. Story of life is no game. Life doesn't need to end that fast. If you choose health, the longer you last. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyle. Live longer, happier, better with FNRI.
Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Bitamina, mineral, seksay pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Calcium,
Papatibay ng buto para sa healthiness.
niacin sa panunaw na maayos, magnesium, taga-ayos ng katawan mo. Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Bitamina, mineral, seksay pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Sagot sa malnutrition, iwas cancer, diabetes at sakit sa puso. Konting kain lang, mabubusog ka na. Halina, tulungan ang bayan. Halina, mag-brown rice na. Mag-brown rice na. Pingang Pinoy. Pingang Pinoy.
Alam mo na ba na may bagong gabay para sa lakas at kalusugan mo? Simple-simple lang at madaling tanda. Ang tawag dito'y Pingang Pinoy. Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato. Kanin o tinapay, 1/3 ng plato mo. Isda o karne, 1/6 ng plato mo. Ito na ang Pingang Pinoy. Sa modelong pinggan, sukat na sukat, bawat pangkat ng pagkain. Pagkaing balanse sa nakatatanda, mainam din sa bata.
Pingang Pinoy.
Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato.
Pinoy.
Starbucks 1/6 ng plato mo.
Pingang Pinoy.
Pingang Pinoy.
In 2010, DOST-FNRI revolutionized its take on nutrition by incorporating genomics in its researches. Investigating the relationship of anthropometric, biochemical, clinical, dietary, and health components to the genetic makeup of Filipinos, DOST-FNRI is looking into providing a more personalized approach of achieving optimum nutrition to every Filipino. Through nutritional genomics, we attempt to better understand how a single nucleotide, a single letter, can make a big difference in our way of living. And so, to support this endeavor, DOST-FNRI capitalized on establishing its molecular laboratory known as the Nutritional Genomics or the NuGen Lab. With its thrust of bringing science for the people, the NuGen Lab provides assessment of genes and genetic variants associated with micronutrient deficiencies and diet-related non-communicable diseases. The NuGen Lab is equipped with some of the state-of-the-art equipment in molecular biology, such as the automated nucleic acid extraction machine, bioinformatics, real-time and digital PCR systems, automated liquid handling system, micro-volume spectrophotometer system, and gel documentation system. With a complete workflow adhering to the highest standard of competency in laboratory testing, NuGen Lab is setting the mark in providing mold biotechniques with transparency, validity, and reliability. Whether you are an individual or a group of enthusiasts seeking answers in nutritional genomics, the NuGen Lab awaits you. Our proficient personnel works in close contact with our customers through customized analysis, provision of technical consultancy in nutritional genomics, and standardization or laboratory competency. To even serve you better, we are partnering with a leader in genomic testing for a higher throughput and faster turnaround time. Welcome to the new generation of nutrition. Welcome to the NuGen Lab.
The FNRI Service Laboratory is an ISO IEC 17025 accredited laboratory which is composed of 3 laboratories. It is the focal agency of the Department of Science and Technology for Nutrition Labeling and is recognized by the Philippine FDA for nutrition labeling and by BFAR for marine food products analysis. It is the only laboratory in the Philippines that is capable to analyze serum vitamin A and urinary iodine excretion. Initially mandated to conduct researches on biological parameters and support the laboratory needs of various in-house food research and development projects, FNRI-SL has continuously expanded and has offered its services also to the public. The chemical laboratory is equipped with instruments that allow proximate determination and physical-chemical analysis of foods. Also, our laboratory is equipped with state-of-the-art modern instruments such as high-performance liquid chromatography, gas chromatography, atomic absorption spectrophotometer, graphite furnace-equipped AAS, automatic analyzer, WYD iodine checker, and the UV-Vis spectrophotometer is currently used for developing methods and water quality assessment. In the biochemical laboratory, other modern instrumentation are being used in order to support the National Nutrition Survey, medical research institutions, LGUs, non-government and international organizations. Having continuously participated and showed satisfactory results in the quality assurance programs of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Biochem Lab offers now a wide range of tests. Meanwhile, the Microbiological Lab is a food laboratory offering a range of tests covering spoilage, indicator and pathogenic microorganisms in food and water samples. The Microlab offers the following: Also, the Microlab conducts isolation and identification of pathogenic microorganisms in food that are of significance to public health. Recently, the laboratory has also started performing molecular pathogen detection in food and bacterial cultures. Using the technology of real-time polymerase chain reaction, detection of Salmonella and Vibrio has become more rapid and accurate. As we are committed to deliver high-quality and timely services, the laboratory is maintained by well-trained, experienced, and PRC-registered chemists and chemical technicians, medical technologists, and registered microbiologists on analysis of different samples. Aside from our commitment to maintain quality data generation, FNRI SL also holds trainings and continuous consultation to customers and stakeholders. In the future, the laboratory aims to expand its services by offering specialized tests to the public. In order to do this, we commit to continuously develop methods and train our laboratory staff for excellence and quality service.
The Food and Nutrition Research Institute's Sensory Evaluation Laboratory primarily serves the sensory evaluation needs of FNRI in-house researchers. FNRI SEL assists food industries with their product to move up the value chain and attain global competitiveness through research, teaching or training, and consultancy service. The laboratory is designed following ISO requirement for sensory evaluation. It has a preparation room equipped with chiller and freezer, microwave oven, cooking range, utensils for food preparation and service, a conference room for group discussions, hand washing station, and 10 partitioned evaluation booths with computers, controlled lighting, noise, and temperature. One of FNRI SEL's best assets are the trained and experienced managers, sensory analysts, and sensory panelists. The laboratory employs internationally acceptable and validated test methods and computerized data collection through their customized eSEL software. FNRI SEL offers various services to help food industries with their product development. Consumer acceptability and preference test helps identify which flavor, smell, texture, and appearance is preferred. Descriptive and sensory profiling test includes development of language for product significant attributes and creates its sensory blueprint. Difference test is a procedure used for quality monitoring of in-between batch consistency or changes of product quality through time. Other services: seminars and trainings on sensory evaluation, panelist recruitment and training, consultation on experimental design, computerized data collection. The sensory facilities are used to educate students, entrepreneurs, technical staff of food industries, as well as managers and decision makers on the science of food acceptance. Knowledge on sensory evaluation helps identify which flavors, smell, texture, and appearance deliver to the highest consumer likings. How to avail the services? FNRI SEL plans to extend their sensory evaluation expertise to meet the needs of food-related and consumer products industries. Future endeavors for FNRI SEL, which will ensure consumer perception will be the heart of FNRI food innovation, are the following: infrastructure development to cater testing for appearance, odor, texture, taste, development of expert panels, computerization of data management system with application of sensometrics to extract information from large sensory data, and development of staff competency on fields of flavor science, human behavior, and statistics. The final judge of food quality is our customer. Understand customer insights and consider sensory evaluation as a tool to measure customer satisfaction. Thinking quality? Thinking sensory? Talk to us. In the food industry, ensuring the quality and safety of consumer products is always the priority. To meet this need, food manufacturers frequently rely on food testing laboratories to determine the nutritional content of food products and to examine its possible microbial and chemical contaminants to comply with regulatory requirements. Philippine regulatory bodies take the lead in ensuring that local laboratories have the capability to generate internationally acceptable analytical data. One of their bases in evaluating the competence of laboratory is the result of their continuous participation in proficiency testing scheme. Proficiency testing is an effective tool to determine the performance of a laboratory through an inter-laboratory comparison. DOST-FNRI, through its Proficiency Testing Laboratory, provides affordable, accessible, and reliable PT programs to support testing laboratories in their ISO 17025 accreditation. From 2006 to date, PT rounds were organized based on international standard, which includes PT on physical-chemical analysis on different food matrices. These FNRI PT rounds were participated in by 20 to 70 local and foreign laboratories. Seminars, trainings, or workshops are also organized after every PT round, where participating laboratories are provided with knowledge that may possibly help them to improve their laboratory performance. Currently, the Proficiency Testing Laboratory of the DOST-FNRI is the only ISO IEC 17043-2010 accredited proficiency testing provider in the Philippines, and is able to sustain and continuously expand its accreditation for 8 years. Aside from providing PT schemes, the laboratory also offers reference materials generated from PT rounds, which can be used for quality assurance purposes. Announcements on how to participate in the FNRI PT rounds, results of the current PT round, available reference material of the FNRI PTL, and their future plans are all made available in the IFNRI website.
Ito ang bago, Enhanced Nutriban with Carrots. Try nyo! Dahil Enhanced Nutriban, healthy rin to. Sisip ito sa vitamina at minerals tulad ng vitamina A, iron, calcium, potassium at zinc, bukod sa enerhiya at proteinang dulot nito. Higit sa lahat, ito ay zero trans fat and no cholesterol. At meron pa rin milky taste na tiyak magugustuhan ng buong pamilya.
while the parents are working, while the stress is tough. Just remember the following. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a run or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Inspire others to do the same. Story of life is no game. Life doesn't need to end that fast. If you choose health, the longer you last. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a round or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyle. Live longer, happier, better with FNRI.
Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamin at mineral, seksik pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Calcium,
Papatibay ng buto
thiamine,
para sa healthiness.
niacin sa panunaw na maayos, magnesium, taga-ayos ng katawan mo. Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamin at mineral, seksik pa rin, pampalusog ng katawan ng bata't matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Sagot sa malnutrition, iwas cancer, diabetes at sakit sa puso. Konting kain lang, mabubusog ka na. Halina, tulungan ang bayan. Halina, mag-brown rice na. Mag-brown rice na. Pingang Pinoy. Pingang Pinoy.
Alam mo na ba na may bagong gabay para sa lakas at kalusugan mo? Simple lang at madaling tanda. Ang tawag dito'y Pingang Pinoy. Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato. Kanin o tinapay, 1/3 ng plato mo. Isda o karne, 1/6 ng plato mo. Ito na ang Pingang Pinoy. Sa modelong pinggan, sukat na sukat, bawat pangkat ng pagkain. Pagkaing balanse, sa nakatatanda, mainam din sa bata.
Pingang Pinoy.
Gulay at prutas, 1/2 ng plato.
Pingang Pinoy.
Kanin o tinapay, 1/3 ng plato mo.
Pingang Pinoy.
Isda o karne, 1/6 ng plato mo.
Pingang Pinoy.
Pingang Pinoy.
Based on 2008, WHO estimates 60% of all deaths in our country, which is 800 daily, is caused by non-communicable diseases. There are 4 major categories of NCDs: cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, chronic respiratory diseases, and some cancers. Filipinos continue to be exposed to the risk factors of NCDs. Physical inactivity and unhealthy diets are major contributors to the rising cases of NCDs. To combat NCDs, FNRI, DOST, DOH, NNC, and WHO agreed to come up with a new food guide for Filipinos. In 2014, the Pingang Pinoy Healthy Plate for adults was first introduced to the public. It is a food plate showing the recommended proportion of food groups in every meal. It conveys the message that half of the plate is occupied by fruits and vegetables, while the rice and protein groups make up the other half, with more rice than protein. The guiding principles underlying the development of Pingang Pinoy are based on the following philosophical goals: evidence-based, promoting good health, focus and total diet, realistic, useful, practical, flexible, evolutionary. Pingang Pinoy is a translation from nutrients to food based on the best available scientific evidence, with due consideration to nutritional advocacy and usual dietary pattern. It shows the 3 basic food groups: Go, or rice and alternatives; Grow, or fish and alternatives; and Glow, that is divided into 2 portions: fruits and vegetables. Drink lots of water every day for adequate hydration. Since individuals' energy and nutrient needs vary based on age, sex, and level of physical activity, FNRI DOST also developed Pingang Pinoy food plate for the other age or population groups. Children 3 to 5 years old, children 6 to 9 years old, children 10 to 12 years old. Male adolescents, female adolescents, male adults, female adults, male elderly, female elderly, pregnant, lactating, proper diet along with regular physical activity can maintain good health and help prevent obesity. With healthy food choices following Pingang Pinoy, plus healthy lifestyle through regular physical activity and avoidance of cigarette and alcohol, comes the healthy Filipino nation.